So, it's 2021 and digital gaming is more convenient than ever. I still prefer my physical games though. Or do I? Let's do this. So, with all the talk of Sony closing down some of their digital stores, I thought I'd give my opinion on digital versus physical gaming media. So before we get into it, yeah, I know everything is going digital. Books, movies, music, and most importantly to us, games. But that's the thing though, you can't really carry around 40 million CDs with you. And DVD players are just bulky. And sometimes I just don't want people to know what on earth I'm reading. And as for games, aside from having to swap discs or cartridges around, I never really understood what the true benefit of going all digital was or is. But I think doing this video has actually changed my mind. But I do want to explore this with you, and in reality I think it boils down to two important things: ownership and cost. So let's just get into it, I guess. We're going to cover both ownership and price, with a bigger discussion over ownership. But before we get into all of it, guys, please let me know if you want me to do more of these videos where I react and give my opinion on gaming news and stuff like that. So one thing that really surprised me whilst doing some research for this video is how many digital games I actually own. And it's shocking. I actually own a lot more digital games than I do physical games. And I think that's because over the years of being subscribed to PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and other various things, I have just accumulated a wealth of digital games, some of which I didn't actually know I owned. So I probably own about 200 digital games across all my consoles combined, if not more. And I think this is something that tends to skew a lot of the data that comes out about digital games overtaking physical games. I mean, if you think about it, each month PlayStation and Xbox give us about 3 to 4 games on our subscription services completely free of charge. Whereas in a month-to-month basis, I probably only buy one game physically, if that. And that game that I do buy tends to be the big game, the exclusive, the one game that I know that I will actually play. Whereas these free games or these subscription supplied games tend to be games that I just download because, you know, it's free, essentially. And they're not necessarily games that I would actually go out of my way to try to get. So yeah, technically I do own more digital games, far more than I do physical games. But I mean, if you're anything like me, your curated list of shows and movies on Netflix far outweighs the maybe 3 or 4 shows and movies you'll actually watch. So next part of the ownership discussion, let's talk about buying and selling games. So when you purchase a digital game, there's not much you can really do in terms of selling it to a retailer or selling it to someone else. You're essentially stuck with the game. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing for me, as I don't necessarily tend to sell my games, but I mean the option would be nice. But that being said, sometimes you take your game to the retailer and it's like a week old and they offer you £3 or something for it when you paid 50. Yeah, I am exaggerating here, but you get what I mean. Regardless of that, at least with physical media, you have the option to sell it. And so I guess we have to give the buying and selling aspect of ownership to physical media. Because if you're like me, you might even be able to pick up a bargain and just add it to your backlog or add it to your collection of games. Talking about buying and selling games, let's now talk about swapping and sharing games. Now, Sony famously showed us how you can swap and share games on the PS4, link in the video description. But now with digital games, you actually do have the ability to share them with friends across the world, meaning that you can both play the same game at the same time in different places on Earth. So no more going without your game for the period of the trade. And some co-op games now give you a free code to give to a friend so you both can play whilst owning one single copy of that game. So when it comes to this point, swapping and sharing games, we have to give it to digital games. There is simply no way to buy a physical game, have it be played by two people at the same time in two different places in the world. But with digital games, you can. So yeah, digital wins this one. So we've now come halfway through the ownership section of this video. So guys, go through your digital libraries and let us know if there are any games that you own that you've completely forgotten about. I had so many. I think like Crisis, I basically own every version of Crisis but completely forgot about it and have always wanted to play it. So yeah, let us know. So now, next part of the ownership debate. Let's talk availability, expiration and convenience. So for the most part, digital storefronts are available 24 hours, meaning that your games are available to purchase 24 hours. Now, they also never go out of stock as well, like brick and mortar stores could and normally sometimes do. Yes, now there is always the risk that some companies will close their digital stores, Sony, or their company will just close or change tact, Google, or in the weird cases, they'll just stop and remove the digital version of games, Nintendo. Or not even necessarily a bad thing, but the game could be so broken that it gets removed from the digital storefront, Cyberpunk. Aside from these rare occasions, they are basically available 24/7, and you can even use your phone to purchase the game and have it download and install on your console with little to no intervention. Yeah, sure, it is sometimes faster to go to the store, buy the game, come back, insert the disc and install from disc than it is to download and install from the internet. I mean, I have great internet speeds and it's still much quicker for me to go to the store and pick up a game. But I think that looking forward, this is going to become more and more irrelevant, and internet speeds will become so much more faster that it will just be like going to the store, if not quicker. So I have to give this one again to digital games. It's just simpler, just easier, and in the future it will just be faster. So next up, let's talk about expiration. Now, digital games, one way or another, could essentially expire. Companies might decide to close storefronts, or you might even forget your login details, or a number of other reasons where your digital content is just gone, poof, evaporated from you for good. But when you buy a physical copy of a game, you have that game basically forever. Unless something truly bad happens, you're good. That game is yours. No expiration date, nothing like that. Or what if the game is limited run and you have a short amount of time to buy the digital or physical copy of the game? Luckily, the physical copy of the game is probably easier to find after the date of expiration than the digital one is, because yeah, that version is gone. All this to say that just having a physical copy of a game or anything just preserves better. It always has, and it probably always will in this context anyway. So yeah, this point, expiration has to go to physical games. Now let's talk about convenience. I'm actually going to do something a bit different here, and I'm going to split this section into two bits: backwards looking and forwards looking. So, looking backwards, let's say you have a PS4 copy of a game, and that game has PS5 upgrades / enhancements, but you have a digital console. There's nothing you can do. You have to purchase that game again for the PS5 enhancements if you want them. Now, this is the fault of the console manufacturers, but it is the world we currently live in. So yeah, looking forwards now, and coupling digital media with something like quick resume will have you hopping from game to game like you've hit shuffle on your music player and you're now hitting next track because it keeps picking the wrong songs. But yeah, this is a fantastic future. Looking back, consoles that take physical discs and physical games in general just offer a wider range of flexibility. But looking forward, you get your games faster, a lot faster, and I think that shouldn't be overlooked. So looking back and the convenience that physical media brings, you'd think I would give this round / section to physical games, but I'm not going to do that. The convenience of being able to hop from game to game on the fly is something that you simply cannot do if all your games are physical and can only be done with digital media. And for that reason, I'm surprising myself here, but I have to give this round to digital media. So, based off of all of that, I have to give the ownership section of this video to digital media. Now it's funny because I actually don't feel like I own my digital games in a really strange way. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think you own your digital games? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments below. So now that we're done with ownership, let's talk about cost. So pricing. Some people are going to say that digital games get much more significant discounts than their physical counterparts. And that is true, but it tends to be on games that I don't actually want or will actually ever play. And often I can find a second-hand copy of a physical game that is a lot cheaper than its digital discounted counterpart. That was a mouthful. Like, this includes the big games. I mean, like a few weeks ago, I saw on Facebook that a local retailer here in the UK was selling The Last of Us 2 for like £16, whereas digitally it would have cost me £50. And I actually went out and bought that game. And yes, I know I should be embarrassed with myself for not having had The Last of Us 2 already. But as I said, I have a huge backlog of games and I'm trying to get out of the habit of just buying a game because it's new and it's out. I need to clear through my backlog. But then I've just contradicted myself because I've done exactly what I've tried not to do. But all that being said, with digital games, you can technically share them with a friend. So if a new game comes out and they're like £70 now, ridiculous, but let's say you and a friend go halves on that game, it becomes £35, and that is a fantastic price for a £70 game. It's half the price. I mean, that's a special case, and who knows, in the future companies can change the proposition to make it a lot more restrictive or just remove that feature altogether. And it's for that reason that I have to give the price award to physical games. You can, in some instances, get it cheaper brand new, or further down the line, get it cheaper second hand. And because there are a lot of retailers battling for our hard-earned money, sometimes competition just breeds fantastic bargains for us that are not replicated on the digital storefronts. Now, let's briefly talk about the cost to the environment. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on this section, but we can all, well, the majority of us can all agree that physical games just use more carbon and produce a bigger carbon footprint than digital games. And for that reason, I have to give the cost to the environment award to digital media, as it's significantly lower than physical copies. That being said though, I don't think that the environmental cost, however small on either side, is something that we are going to factor in when deciding to buy our games physically or digitally. And so for that reason, I can't really use that as a point factor for this section of the video. And thus, physical games win the price battle, and in turn, the cost battle. So looking at everything we've covered, it's basically a draw, but what gives? Which do I think is better and which do I actually prefer? Well, my preference is to own the big games physically. The ones that I will fondly remember. The ones I hope my grandkids ask me if I've ever actually played this. You know, the exclusives. But that being said, with Game Pass, I don't think I'm ever going to purchase a physical Xbox exclusive ever again. So, going into this, I thought that I was a physical media guy. But in reality, my digital collection has far eclipsed my physical collection. And so, yeah, can I really call myself a physical media guy? Digital or physical? Doesn't really make a difference. Like, when it boils down to it, there is no in-game benefit you get from owning either medium. The future is definitely digital, but I feel that that's a future that's at least a couple of generations away. For me at least, physical media wins, even though on paper, digital does. But that's life, I guess, full of paradoxes, and I guess this is one of mine. The real question is going to be digital or streaming. But that's a different conversation for a different day and a completely different video. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Can I really be a physical media guy if my digital games far eclipse my physical collection? Who knows? But even if the numbers say something different, I do see myself as a physical media guy. But let's see what happens in a few months' time. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. And fun fact, this video was actually inspired by one of you guys. You guys are truly amazing. With that being said, guys, let's build an awesome community together. Until the next one.